Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about beads. I'm going to attempt to explain to you the way I do beading and give you some information on the different Mill Hill beads and what's out there, the bead tools that I use, and also let you remember that this is just the way I do it. There are multiple ways in needlework to do one thing. What I do may not be how you do it. I've just had a few people ask me to show how I bead, and I like to be as informative as I can, so I actually did some research on the different Mill Hill beads and what sizes they are and everything. So let me give you some information before I actually start beading. On 123 Stitches website, there are 475 different options that you can purchase for Mill Hill beads. They have seed beads, which are almost round in shape. They range from size 15, which are the petite glass beads. And one thing to also remember is the larger size, the larger number that you get, the larger the size. I said that completely wrong. The larger the number, the smaller the size. So Mill Hill seed beads, size 15 are their petite beads. Size 11 is their regular glass seed beads. Their antique glass seed beads, which obviously the glass seed beads are like these, where it's just, it looks like glass. The antique beads have an antique finish to them. The frosted ones, just like that says, have like a frosted finish to them. And then they also have a couple beads that are called crayon beads, where they are pretty bright and matte and they look like a crayon. They also have Magnifica beads, which look like, and I have some of those. They're these. They're called for in a lot of the Nora Corbett or Mirabilia patterns. It says they're cylindrical beads with large holes and thin walls. They are very uniform in size and shape. These are also a lot more expensive than the regular beads, just FYI. They also have bugle beads, which I'm currently using in Luce Mia, which look like this. They actually have 3 different sizes of those. They have small, medium, and large. Mine are the small. They are 2.5 millimeters around and 6 millimeters long. They also have pebble beads, which are large beads, almost round in shape. They are equivalent to a size 3 bead, which I'm pretty sure these are pebble beads. They're pretty big. And then they have pony beads, which can be either size 6 or 8. And these are what those are. Now, when I converted Luce Mia, I converted the beads. These were the beads that were originally called for in the Luce Mia pattern. And these are a size 6, I think. I can't be sure. But Mill Hill did not make red ones that were very clear or bright. So I actually went to Fire Gems and Beads, I think is the website, and I ordered these Delicas that are, does it say the size on it? These are the same size as, they don't say. They're the same size as these, which are the ones I was trying to replace. And those are really pretty, brilliant red beads. So you have options. You can order from different places. You just need to know the size of the bead that you're ordering, that you're trying to convert from Mill Hill if you're going that way. Okay, so let's actually get to beading. So the beading needle that I use, and again, there's a bunch of different beading needles. I use these. John James size 10 ballpoint bead embroidery needle. And Where is the needle? Hold on 1 second. I try to be so prepared when I go to shoot these videos, and I rarely am. Here is the needle. It's very thin, and the eye is very small. I have used to bead Nymo thread. Let me stick that in there. Nymo thread, which is this, a thin nylon thread. And I have also used just plain floss, you know, to thread attach beads. Now, and I meant to bring the mermaid down to show you. On the last mermaid I stitched, I used all Nymo thread because I could just carry it on the back and didn't have to worry about changing floss colors with the color of the bead. Because when you stitch with beads and you attach them with DMC, what I try to do is match the color of the floss to the color of the bead. Like on Luce Mia, when I stitch these bugle beads, I am using, I think it's DMC 3340, which is this color. So it's similar. And I will show you that actually. But okay, let's thread the beading needle with Nymo. Now, also, I will probably do something different than most people do. When I use the Nymo thread, I will use just one strand of it. When I use DMC floss, I will use 2 strands. Now, this is easier to thread than DMC. Look, I already have that threaded. Very simple. I'm going to tie a knot in the end of this just because so it won't pull through. So let's just say you go to bead. I do a half stitch in the bead. You get a regular size bead. I'll use these Magnifica beads because they're going to show up really good on here. Just grab a bead, if I can grab one. Did you see that? I just spilled beads all over myself. I literally have beads all on my lap now. Okay. I just go up like I'm completing the first half of an X for a stitch and just pull it through. And I think I just pulled my thread. And why did that pull through? That knot pulled through. Boy, this is not turning out to be a really great tutorial, is it? Let me put another knot in that. Okay. This knot should not pull through now. There we go. I'm going to grab one of the beads that is actually on my chest. Okay, let's try this again. And there you go. There is a bead attached. I'll attach a couple of these so you can see. And you can do a full cross, which will make the bead stand perfectly straight up and down. I don't know if you can see, but my beads, by doing the half stitch, they lean to the right. I like that look. I have no problem with that, and it's quicker. I'm going to attach a couple different sizes of beads so you can see. And boy, these look nice and neat, don't they? Now, I always do beading last. You do stitching first, and then you attach the beads. I do bead as I go along on my Mirabilias and my Nora Corbetts. I will do a 10 by 10 square, and then I will attach the beads in that square. Okay. Going to attach, I thought I pulled some petite beads. Are these petite? These are petite. Okay, that is a Magnifica bead. Here are petite beads, which are a lot smaller. Now I also find that if I stitch on, you can see, look how much smaller that is. I hope you can see that. I wonder if I can. Okay, I tried to zoom you in a little bit more. I hope it is not blurry. I also find that stitching on 28 count allows all of my beads to fit, the normal size beads. Now if you're stitching on 32 count, petite beads fit really well. The regular size Mill Hill beads sometimes are really tight, depending on if they are single beads or if they are a line of beads. Yeah, these are really small, these petite beads. Petite beads are also good for eyes if you don't want to do French knots. I've replaced plenty of French knots with beads. You know I'm not going to do any more of those. Okay, so that is a petite bead. Here is a pony bead. And I do the same technique. No matter what size bead, I always do the half stitch. Now a lot of these pony beads are used in the Nora Corbett patterns. I know the one Bluebell uses a lot of these pony beads. And even I stitched Wisteria Pixie. Even that used pony beads in the center of her flowers. I really like stitching the bead. Let's face it, the beads can be a giant pain in the ass, but the effect that they give is really awesome. It can make your project really sparkly and just add that extra bit of oomph to it. I don't think I put that in the right hole. I didn't, it's down here. And sometimes I will even do this. I'm going to attach one more and I'm going to show you something. If I find the beads are laying loose, and sometimes just putting the half stitch, they will be loose, I will run my needle, especially if I'm doing a row of beads, like let's say that was called for. I will come up through this center, the middle hole. I don't know if you can see where I came up, and I will go through all of the beads with my needle, the row of beads, and then come down on this side in the center. And when you pull that, it really makes them stand and stay together in that line. So that's a little something that I do sometimes. Okay, let's attach these big pebble beads. These are not used very much, but just to give you an idea of what the different size beads look like. These are ginormous. These are so huge. Now obviously the benefit of using the Nymo thread is that it's just about invisible. Look how big that is. Wow, that's huge. And obviously it takes up about 4 squares almost. So I'm guessing these would never be in a line, that these would be probably single accent beads. I'm going to attach one more. These are so huge. I don't think I even attached that straight with that. Let's just say they're in a line like that. Okay. Now, two beading tools that I actually use. The tacky bob, which looks like a CD case. Both sides in here are sticky. You can see I have beads for Leukemia in here. I mean, it's really sticky. I will just put this over the top of my scroll rod and bead right from there. So let me, actually those are regular seed beads. I'm going to attach some of those up here. You just pull it right off, put your needle through a bead, and it pulls right off of the tacky bob. There are many beading mats and beading accessories out there. I don't have all of them. Like I said, you just go through another bead. And when I'm done stitching a project, I will just scrape off the excess beads into the trash can. I really try to only pour the ones I'm going to use on there so I don't waste them. And just go in the center, pull it off. And you just keep on going. Okay, I'm going to attach these bugle beads, but I am going to use DMC floss for that to show you the difference. One other beading tool that I use that I actually really love is my Bead Buddy by Elizabeth Turner. And it looks like this. This is the box has a lid. You can see the size of it compared to the tacky bob. It's pretty small. Same concept though. This is a sticky pad in here, and then I just pour the beads in here. But the great thing about this is that it's a needle minder. So I just put it right next to where I'm beading, pull off the lid, and my beads are right there. No matter where you can be holding a Q-snap and you don't have to hold a separate tacky bob in your hand. This is fantastic. And it's, you know what, I'm going to dip in there and bead a couple of those beads just to show you how I do that. So let's just say I'm over here and I'm going to bead right here. I come up. Let's just say I'm going to get a purple bead. Same concept as the tacky bob. I just grab a bead from it and bead. And the same thing again. Just grab another one and bead. Really love this tool. And like I said, at the end, just like with the tacky bob, I just scrape the excess beads off in the trash can. But the best part about this is that it's the needle minder on the back. So really love that. Okay, I'm going to attempt to thread this beading needle with DMC and not cuss too much. I'm actually just going to put, I think, one through. If I can. I'm going to pause you guys and I'll be right back. Okay, I did not want to make you sit there while I threaded that beading needle with DMC. So when you use DMC, same concept as the Nymo thread, I use 2 strands of DMC. I'm going to show you by attaching these up. I'm going to use the tacky bob since they're already on there. Now, I attach these a little differently than the regular seed beads. just grab one on my needle and see how it's like a cylinder. So the holes that are left for these bugle beads, it usually covers 4 stitches. So I would come up through the bottom square and then go up my needle through the top of that and then just pull it through. And there it is. Now, on Luce Mia, these are scattered. They're not side by side. And I think these beads were also on the other mermaid, Tesoro Mia. Was that her name? There were some of these in as fringe on her shawl that she carried. So again, you come up at the bottom, or at least how I do it, I come up at the bottom of the set of 4 squares, grab my bead, stick the needle through it just like that, and then you go up 4 squares. And I always start the bead and end the bead at the center hole. Like if you look at the square of 9, I would start on the bottom 3 holes. I would start in the middle hole, and then when I go up to put the top of the bead down, I would put my needle in the middle of the top 3 holes. I hope that made sense. It's sometimes so hard to get across what I want to say. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to show you was how to attach a treasure. Nora Corbett and Mirabilia patterns use treasures quite frequently, and they are really beautiful. Like these are the treasures for Autumn Pixie. And so I'm going to attach this one just to show you how to do it. You have to attach a treasure with a bead. And you know, was sort of tricky when I first figured out how to do this, and it still is a little tricky, but it's not hard. So I am going to actually use the Nymo thread for this. Grab that Nymo thread from the back. Like I said, threading with Nymo thread is a lot easier than DMC, as I struggle. Okay, now I'm going to use this bead to attach this treasure. You try to use a similar colored bead so you cannot really tell there's a bead there. At least that's what I do. So what you do, or at least how I do it, let me rephrase that. I come up wherever the treasure needs to be. Let's just say it's going to be down here. I put the treasure on my needle. I grab a bead. Well, I just pulled the Nymo thread out. I kind of push the bead to the center of the treasure with my finger. I'm threading the Nymo thread back in the needle. And then what I will do is I will go over the bead and just back down in the center of the treasure. And I just hit any hole in there. And see how it's on there now. I know there's probably a better, more sophisticated way to do it, but that's how I've always done it. And yes, the treasure is going to move around, like this is moving around. You could probably come back up in that same hole. I'm going to try to anchor this a little better. You could probably come up again in that same hole. Put your needle through the bead. Actually, I'm having trouble doing that. Oh no, I did it. Okay. The needle is through the center of the bead and then going back down again and just pulling. That anchored it a little bit better. The idea is the bead is holding the treasure on because there's no way to just attach the treasure because there's a giant hole in the center of it. So there's the treasure. I think that's it. I hope this helped. I know I'm not the most knowledgeable person about this stuff, but I've been stitching for a long time and I've definitely done my fair share of beading. If you have any questions that I haven't answered, please leave them below. I will try my best to answer them as well as I can. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in my next video.